Welcome back to our Train at Home series. We're going to be doing some target practice here today with and without a weapon. I know a lot of my students may not have weapons yet. So you can see I set up targets on my pole here. You can use a wall. I use little tape. I labeled them 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But to set up your distance, you want to extend your arm so you can reach. If you're leaning, you're too far away. So make sure you have a good extension distance for this one. This is too close. I'm not extending my arm, and I can hit the wall without extending my arm. So good extension distance. The top tapes are slightly above my shoulder. The middle tape is about center of my chest, and the bottom tapes are about waist high. So when you do your extension practices here, you can do 4 extensions, 6 extensions, right to the middle. Those are 8, and those are 7. 1, 2, so we'll go back to 1. You can go to any of the targets, but make sure your arm is fully extended. I'd leave it out there for a little bit. So I'm just going from 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. What also helps is sometimes if you just point to target. You're not holding a weapon, you want to make sure your point's going to target. I do this a lot, or I tell students a lot, to pretend that you're pointing to the target when you're holding the weapon. A lot of times we'll lead with our hand and with our guard, and we'll miss completely. So reach out and point to target. You can also have a partner call out numbers. So 2, 1, 3, or 2, oh, that was 5. That was 3, 1, 2, 5. Have them call out the number, and you just have to go to target. Make sure you fully extend. You don't want to do that. You don't want to go out there and just start swinging around. That was an example of what not to do. Those are just calling out numbers, and I'm going to the target. Alright, so we can do this with a weapon as well. So if you have a weapon and if you have a wall that your parents will allow you to hit, set up your extension distance. That's too close, definitely. So if you are not having to extend and you can hit the target, you're too close. So extend, make sure you have a bend in the weapon. If you're having to lean to the target, that's also too far away. We don't want to lean to target, okay? So set up your extension distance where you're fully extended, make sure your arm's fully extended, and there's a bend in the weapon. So again, I'm going to the same targets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I didn't rotate my arms on that one, so I'm just going straight to 4 and 5. This one I think I'm going to rotate for an 8 attack, and I missed. That's okay, we all miss. Pretty little trees and happy little squirrels. But there's that 8 again, and there's that 7 attack. Take your time. Again, make sure you have a wall that your parents or the people that own the house is comfortable with you hitting. Or if you've got something you can set up and put tape on it, absolutely. Another practice you can do is just picking a target, extending and hitting, and trying to hit the same place again. Try not to aim it. Try not to take your time trying to bring the point. Extend your arm and hit target. This same exercise before where you can have someone calling out numbers. That one was 4, 3, and 2, and I missed a 2. But hitting a target, that gets called out. And you can just tell yourself in your head, if you don't have a partner to tell you or to call out numbers, just tell yourself 1, 2, and 3, and just go to 1, 2, and 3. You can do the same exercise at a lunge distance. Make sure you extend first and hold that lunge. So a lot of people have a tendency to bounce back from that lunge, so once they feel that weapon and wants to start pushing back, they're going to bounce back. So you can go to different targets. I would recommend maybe going after it twice in a row, see if you can hit the same spot again. These will put marks on the wall. Notice I'm doing this on one of our pillars, which can take a lot of damage. You guys hit it all day long during practice. You can also do this without the weapon. So I've taken off my gloves so you can see. I've adjusted my distance, so I'm extending and lunging, and I'm just barely reaching the wall. Remember, you can also do it while pointing your hand, so you know you're going to target. Those 2 high targets, 1 and 2, the ones right above my shoulder, you want to make sure your hand is slightly above your shoulder when you lunge. That's too close. So I'm giving you examples of too close. I'm barely extending and I'm barely lunging. So there's that long lunge again. I'm reaching above my shoulder. My hand is going straight. My arm is straight. There's that 8 attack. There's supination and pronation for the 8 and 7 attacks. Alright, we're going to go to the padded target here. My padded target looks a little overweight. I apologize. We'll work on that. But I've set up the same tape on my padded target. I sent out an email earlier where you can create your own padded target. Just put a pillow in your jacket if you have a fencing jacket. That last example is my hand being too low. In these exercises, I want you to do these exercises coming in from preparation. So notice I haven't been on guard. What I'm doing here is, what I'm demonstrating is I don't want you to try to aim as you get to target. You just want to point to the target. But all these attacks are coming from preparation. So they weren't standing from on guard like we were on the past target. We're coming from a preparation. So that one is just a really low 8 preparation. Make sure you sit down. Here we're coming from a 4 preparation. Usually in class, if you've done this in class, we'll do this from changing lines and we'll coupe over to hit. So notice that point is not behind me. It's just we're at 4 and it's pushed over a little bit where they can't hit our weapon. This is from a 6 position. I think it's a 3 position. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the hand is down, the point is down. The point's about an inch from the ground. Last couple touches are incorrect touches, where the hand is lower than the point when you're hitting. This is a really wide 6. I'm pulling the hand back and the point back. I missed on that one. And we miss all the time, even I miss. Those are just from the extensions, from an on-guard position. So in your exercises, when you hit, always start off with just regular extensions like that. Take your time between each one. You don't want to bounce back. And then try some attacks from preparation. So I've reached out to a lunge distance from on-guard position. I'm making sure that I extend and I'm holding that lunge. When you come back, try to stay in on guard. I did about 5 or 6. Try to do about 5 or 6 before you rest. Now we're doing it from a preparation position. So notice I'm in that 8 position again. I missed that one. Reaching out first, extending first before you lunge. You definitely don't want to lunge first and then try to hit. And again, try to pretend that you're pointing to that target. I'll do this on my own a lot before you guys get to class. It's my own practice sometimes. Simple stuff is good. If you can hit simply, if you can hit with the simple attacks, you don't have to make things complicated. I think Bruce Lee once said, don't fear a man that's practiced 1,000 different kicks. Fear the man that's practiced one kick 1,000 times. So we're trying to really simplify our attacks and making sure that we can hit with just very, very simple attacks. If you can hit with simple attacks, not have the weapon move around or hitting your opponent's weapon, then the easier it is to hit. Simple attacks work fine. I'm just doing this because a lot of us, or not a lot of us, but there might be a lot of fencers that may not have their own weapon. So these practices can be done without the weapon as well. I do this at home as well. I do it at the club. You can practice without the weapon. I've also done footwork where I'm just looking at the mirror, going up and down the strip without a weapon. You just have to make sure your hand is finishing in the right spot. Good extensions, good lunges. Now, even if you have your own weapon at home, you can do this without the weapon. It definitely helps to be able to feel how you're hitting and when you're hitting, or if you're even hitting, or hitting weird. So good extensions. Remember, if you sometimes drag your back foot, some people do, and that's okay. Make sure you readjust your distance when you recover from the lunge. Alright, one more thing I think. Yeah. This is, I forget what it's called. Oh, no. Here's what we're doing. We're practicing some blade work here. So that's big circles, small circles. We're going to practice is making our movement small here. Small circles, that's a big circle. We don't want that. We want to keep everything small. So on this one, using your fingers and your wrist, going clockwise and counterclockwise, about the size of a donut. So staying right around that center circle, going clockwise and counterclockwise. Relax your arm. You can go a little bit bigger, so about the size of those 4 outside corner dots, but not too much bigger than that. So these are good for your extensions, your disengages, your counter disengages. That's definitely too big. You don't want to go big. Take your time for the circles. If you want, you can spiral. Start with something small and spiral to something bigger so you understand and can feel the difference between the two. You can also spiral from big going to small. This one we're just changing lines, or we're going from 4 to 6. All I'm doing is writing the letter V. These are good for 1-2 attacks or feint disengage attacks. This is a little bit smaller. Definitely if you can make it small, it's great. I'm just changing lines there from 4 to 6 without doing a disengage. I think some of these I'm going to do some incorrect things to do. Again, you're using your fingers and your wrist just to get underneath the blade. We're just changing lines here, so if you're outside of distance, you can change lines using the rotation of the wrist. This will be incorrect. I don't want you to do this. So if you can see my wrist, I'm hinging back and forth instead of rotating. We don't want the hinge, we want the rotation, just like that. So if you see that again, there's that rotation in the wrist. We're creating an arc with our weapon. We're not moving our hand back and forth. There's that 1-2. You're just making the letter V. You're going back and forth on this one. So starting from the 4 to 6 to 4. This time we're starting from 6 to 4 to 6. Remember to keep your finger movement small. See what we're doing here. Coupes between 4 and 6. This is a little bit more difficult. If you've done this before in class, definitely practice this. If you haven't done this yet, I would probably skip that one. But these practices you can do, I would say, about 10 each. Usually when I do it on a dummy or on the wall, I do about 10 each. So whichever one you want to pick, I'd start off simple first. These ones I'm doing a circle and an extension. The key thing here is just trying to hit the same spot again. We're doing the same thing here with a lunge. So I'm doing a circle 4 or circle 6, and then I'm going straight to my lunge. But the key thing is making sure those circles are small. You don't want to go big on those circles. I'm watching these videos while I'm doing the talking, so it's sort of like the documentary portion of the DVD. We're going back to extensions. No, what am I doing? Oh, I'm doing a 1-2 extension attack. Sometimes it's hard to see from this angle. That's starting from the 6, 4, 6 extension. So this attack is basically a 1-2. Okay. So the last thing, if you've got time and if social distancing will allow, these things, I forget what they're called, but if you go to Walmart, they're about $30. Don't go to Walmart to get one of these. Go to 5 and Below. 5 and Below in Fayetteville, they've got these for $5. So set up your distance. I think I'm going to mess around here for a little bit just so you can have a little bit of fun if you've got a sibling. But these are, like I said, they're $5 rather than $30 over at 5 and Below. But you want to get a balance here. But you can spin around. I'm just messing around here. But find your distance. Sit down and on guard. This will build some core strength here. It's going to want to move back and forth. So you're going to have to try to keep balance. You don't want your balance all the way on your back foot. You definitely don't want your balance on the front foot. Especially on these 8 attacks, it's going to want to swivel. There it is. I'm starting to swivel a little bit. So you want to try to keep still. Keep your knees bent, definitely. That'll help you keep your balance. But this will also give you a little bit of exercise. It's already enough to to keep your knees bent on 10 straight hits. But this will build your core exercise. So grab one of those if you can. $5 only at 5 and below. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and the next video I send out will be ones with Isabel that you can work with a partner or a parent. I'll talk to you next time.